Hello and welcome to the Freemasons podcast with your hosts, Right Worshipful Brother George Mudry,
Worshipful Brother Joe,
and Worshipful Brother Ken.
God damn it, we don't have a credit no more. Now we have to pay $21.34.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what our bill is, $21, which is crazy because there's some federal broadband credit. I wonder what that is.
Is it because we're using too much bandwidth?
It says federal broadband credit. I still don't know what the hell that is.
So we got a credit for that, or they were getting charged for this said credit?
No, they give us a credit, $29.99.
Huh.
We're under investigation from the feds.
Maybe it's some kind of COVID thing where people had to work from home, they had to get broadband, so they had to give some money back to, like, relief. I don't know.
Or it's because I used that Russian server for our
Oh,
email.
remember that?
It's
yes.
It's still Yandex, so.
Yes, das vidodya.
Yes.
Voice discount when bundled with internet. Is that because I got a beautiful voice? Everybody loves my singing voice. Maybe that's what that is. They give
No.
we're gonna discount this
No,
dude.
you don't get credit
He
for
sounds
that.
like an angel. You have the voice of an angel.
Giving you a credit for all the words that you mispronounced. They don't feel right charging you for it.
Exactly.
All right. So anyway, enough of the horse shit. We didn't get anything to drink, Joey.
I brought my water bottle.
I'm good.
Damn it. Well, we got a toast.
You want me to go raid the fridge?
I suppose.
Okay. What do you guys want?
I'll take water if they have it.
Okay.
I'm not fancy. I drank a lot of bourbon last night.
Hell no H2O.
Did a little blind taste testing. of some bourbons
Gatorade.
last night. Oh, God. Water sucks. It really, really sucks.
Come and say what?
Water or Rolling Rock?
Oh, God, water.
Water.
Rolling Rock. Rolling Rock. Who the hell drinks Rolling Rock?
I used to drink Rolling Rock back in the day.
Okay. You're probably a Zima guy, too, weren't you?
No, never.
Smearing off ice?
Never.
I know you were a mystery.
Never. I was a Miller High Life guy for a while. I did enjoy it. It was the champagne of beers.
You're a Bud Light guy now.
Now I skip beer altogether now. Go right to the bourbon. Go right to the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, if there are any bourbon drinkers out there, if your Costco has a liquor store, this week they've come out with their Kirkland Small Batch, which is made by 1792. It's quite tasty.
Really?
And $21 a bottle for a full liter.
Not bad at all.
Not bad.
I'd recommend it.
Pro tip.
All right. This episode, 246, Human Bullshit Detectors. And
Oh,
we're
can
gonna
you say that?
I don't give a shit. They're going to demonetize us?
No, they're going to put an article in the Freemasons newspaper.
That's true.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
We haven't had an article in a while. We're due.
All right, let's test it.
Plain, boring water.
Shane, we're
No
not going to
polar-
test it, Shane.
Plain, boring water. No polar seltzer? No.
Actually, there is none in the fridge right now, which is
It's been banned.
novel.
No, it hasn't been banned. Anyway, we're going to be discussing, I guess, well, I mean, how did we start this conversation? This kind of started at breakfast. Three of us, we three did agree to go to breakfast.
Yep.
There's a, see what I did right there?
No. We three did agree? Is that
Yeah.
making nursery rhymes?
Canadian
No.
fridge or something?
No. As we three do agree in peace, love, and unity. No. Nothing from the York right, huh? All right.
No.
whatever.
Oh,
Never done
gotcha.
it.
Yeah.
Never done the York right.
We were talking about catching our children in bullshit lies and
Or stories.
and stories.
Embellished stories,
Yeah.
we'll call it. Exactly.
And I guess we can kind of carry this over to the investigation committee of when you join Freemasonry. Don't feed a line when you apply to be a Mason, because some of us are human BS detectors, and we can fish you out if you're telling a tall tale, if you will. But first, let's do the Apple reviews.
All right.
Alrighty, let's see here. Let's see if we got any funny ones. All right, here we go. 5-star review from Johnny Red 1111111. Great show. 5-star review. Love the alternate universe and Google search episodes. We haven't done one of those in a while.
Oh, the Google search episode, like the autocomplete one? Yeah.
Yep. A brother in Virginia. Thank you for 5-star review. And sitting in the East, 5-star review. Big Master Daddy 77.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
I sat in the East for the first time recently. Sebasticook, 146 Maine.
Bastages?
And
Fucking bastages.
and if I hadn't mentioned, if I haven't if I hadn't mentally prepared by binge listening to all 245 episodes of the Freemasons podcast, I might have actually remembered my degree work. On a positive note, I may have forgotten some of the words, but I made it to the opening close with no goats harmed in my travels. Vivat, 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 brother Junior Warden McCaslin.
Oh, it's very nice.
Keep up the great work, brothers. Thank you. Toast them. Joey, lead it.
Brothers, right hand to arms.
To arms.
Ready.
Ready.
Aim. Fire, good fire, fire all. Together, brothers. We have to go gently, otherwise the water comes out.
Vivat, vivat, vivat. Now that would have been some shit if we would just
I
like
think I
boom
did that
and
one
volcano in the water. Anyway,
does anybody remember that scene from Johnny Dangerously? Have you seen that movie, Johnny Dangerously?
no.
Old
Negative.
Michael Keaton movie, Joe Piscopo, but it was funny as all hell. It's like a parody gangster movie, and they have this Italian mobster about to go to prison. And he's like, oh, do you have any final words? And he's reading his statement. And that's where I got that bastards, you farking arseholes and cooksuckers. You are a bunch of fucking bastards.
No, I've never seen the movie, actually.
Funny movie.
Josh McCray, I always thought a sponsor would keep you hooked up. We do have a sponsor. If you guys listen to our episodes on Apple and Spotify, you'll hear our commercial plug.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the guy that I have to call on Friday nights just to check in.
Who?
My sponsor.
Who? Oh, your
Who sponsors us?
Real Anti-Masons of Genius.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And actually, I did a little poll,
they
too, so I could do
Dance?
polls. What?
Down at like a dance?
Like a pole dance.
Oh, all right.
You're not on your game today.
Too early in the morning.
Too early in the morning. I had breakfast. This is so I'm fat and disgusting. No, I did a poll on Spotify, and I said, what fake funny ad do you want to hear? And coming in at over 50% is the Anti-Masons of Genius. So I will continue to do, as we used to do with Brothers of Genius, we're now doing Anti-Masons of Genius.
When you say over 50%, is it like 66.7 because we had 3 votes and 2 wanted it? Or
No,
was it
actually, we
decent
had quite
amount
a
of
few.
people?
We had a decent amount of people. It wasn't crazy, but I mean the people who
I'm
did
just checking.
people who did vote. I mean, yeah.
What were the other options?
I did more Masons of Genius, Brothers of Genius is what I meant. Anti-Masons of Genius, and a different sploof. Get your mind out of the gutter, Joe. I said sploof.
Oh, I thought you said boof.
So,
Sploof's a cool word, too. I like that.
sploof. Yep. So, we're going to continue with the Anti-Masons of Genius, and we got a couple others that are pretty goddamn funny.
Not to mention, I will just a shout out and a shameless plug.
Mm-hmm.
We are actually sponsored by our Patreon folks,
Yeah.
which you could also join for as little as $5 a month, where you get exclusive access to all of our Discord channels and our pay-to-play fantasy football league that happens once a year. You do have to pay to play. But that's what you get for as little as $5 a month. But thank you to our Patreon supporters
Yes.
out there, because
Thank you.
that's who this show is actually brought to you by.
And, yep. 'cause
That's how we still have internet.
That's how we still live. That's right.
And we haven't raised our price, even with the cost of inflation. It's still
No.
as little as $5 a month.
Yep.
That's true. We have absorbed the financial impact.
And I haven't closed on the other tiers yet, only because there's people who are on all different tiers, and I can't close a tier down until they go to $5 a month. But if you want to do extra support and do 15 or 9 or whatever the hell the different tiers are, have at it.
Yes, support is necessary.
Shay, good morning, brothers. Good to see you all. Yes, you good to be seen. Good to be seen, because we can't see you.
Better to be seen than viewed.
Yeah, true. All right, what do we say? We want to start this shindig up now? Now that we've done enough BSing?
Ready.
All right.
Sure.
We're going to be talking about the investigation committee. So, we talked about the investigation committee. We've done several episodes on it. But we're going to talk about just people who are not so honest in their investigation committee, or just Masons who aren't honest in general.
Yeah.
said it before, I'll say it again. You know, we're an organization with a bunch of different personalities and people, and sometimes we get people and brothers who don't do the right thing, or at least cop to their mistakes, right?
Yeah, and I think let's throw out a quick disclaimer that the stories that you hear bear no coincidence to any real-life persons, and the stories told are solely for the entertainment purposes of this podcast, and we are not giving away any secrets from any actual investigations.
Correct.
Does that cover us?
Yes,
that
it
little
does.
disclaimer
I
at
think
the end
so.
of every movie that says asterisk. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And even if they were real, we ain't going to tell you they're real. We'll just keep it at that.
Which is why I gave the disclaimer.
Very nice. No names will be used.
Right. Any likeness to real person or persons is solely coincidence.
Yes.
So,
Holy coincidence.
As they put it in like biography movies, whatever.
so Ken, why don't you start up? Have you ever had anybody who tried to become a Mason? You were on investigation committee, and you can just and you could also start off with, how do you normally? We know how Joe does it. He's methodical. He's like well, I mean, you'll talk about it, but I mean, I would compare you.
I'm
to
like Perry effing Mason.
You're like in Hearts War. You know, like you've seen Hearts War.
Is that Bruce Willis?
Yeah, Bruce Willis
Yeah.
and Colin Farrell. Remember when the Nazi goes in? I'm not calling you Nazi. I'm just saying, but you know, he goes in and he does things like that are like,
Sounds like a little-
methodical in order to get you to
Yeah.
crack.
Like a 1940s cop interrogator. Right?
There we
With a
go,
light
there
in
we
the
go.
face
With
and
the
stuff.
flashlight. And
Dick Tracy and
Dick
Oh.
Not a
oh
Nazi.
shit! Oh, I picked the wrong reference. I'm
Do you not know who
sorry,
Perry
Shane.
Mason is?
I'm sorry.
Perry Mason was like a TV
Good
show
song.
about
Perry.
he was an attorney. And
I was going with Ozzy.
He was God, he also played Ironsides. Raymond Burr
Okay.
from Citizen Kane, right?
No.
Was he Citizen Kane, or was that Orson Welles? I get him confused.
No idea.
Before my time.
All right,
Before
anyway.
my time too.
Citizen Kane is one of the greatest movies ever made. Ever.
I've never seen that movie.
Only Kane.
I know
was
it's a
in
classic,
WWE. And the mayor in Knoxville.
Okay, anyway. Perry Mason was an attorney. How about Matlock? Do you remember frickin' Matlock?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm like Matlock,
In
but
the
better.
80s, I think.
But without the Colonel Sanders suit.
Right.
We good? We ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I go now?
Yes.
Well, there was one situation. It actually didn't happen to me, so I think it's probably okay to talk about. Because
Fictional.
We'll call it entirely fictional. But there was an investigating committee wherein a particular individual had a past, shall we say.
Okay.
One of the things that I want to note is here in Connecticut, in our jurisdiction, we had they're changing it now, I guess, but there was a process whereby anybody who is petitioning before the investigating committee starts, there's a background check process that you have to go through, and it's, kind of sanctioned by Grand Lodge so that it's, generalized across the board throughout the entire jurisdiction.
But
Everybody
also
goes
up
through
to the
same
lodge,
process. Right now, it's kind of on pause, I guess. They're redesigning the process, but it's the lodge kind of handles it, but it's the same provider of background checks statewide.
Right. It was a shared vendor so that we know that it was consistently being performed across all lodges. And no, I don't believe it was optional.
Yeah, it was kind of
Oh,
part
it's
of the
definitive.
petitioning process. It was like in the documentation when you were filling out the petition.
All right.
But I'm sure they're bringing it back at some point. But prior to that, it was kind of up to the individual lodge to figure out what they want to do from a background check perspective. There were some lodges that, there were police officers that were part of the line. Maybe there was a secretary who was a police officer, and they kind of had access to, or at least knowledge of, like that public records search thing, so that you can go in and kind of look up somebody's background. If they were ever arrested in the state of Connecticut for anything, it would pop up, and then that's just another data point that you would use during the investigation. The lodge in question had that particular process where I don't know if it was a police officer doing it, but any of us can do that. It's a public records search. It's free on the internet to go and look it up. And this individual had a little bit of a past, right? Arrested for, let's just say, not really a felony. Because a felony would kind of disqualify you under most circumstances in this state. But, I think it was a misdemeanor or something like that, this offense. So that kind of, it's up to the investigating committee to kind of look at that. It's up to the sponsor or the top line signer and the voucher to think about that and use that as, whether or not they actually want to sign it. And the investigating committee also needs to kind of look at that, and that determines whether or not they come back and say, yeah, this investigation was favorable or it's unfavorable. In this case, the investigating committee, let's say, did their due diligence, decided that, everybody kind of makes mistakes in their past, right? Mm-hmm. So in their opinion, at least at the onset before they went through the investigation, they said, well, let's kind of talk it through with this gentleman and, see what the actual situation was before we make any final determination. So they did. This particular individual didn't happen to mention anything about that past. And in fact...
was he informed that he was being background checked first?
No, because this was actually before that whole process. Right? So it was just... the brothers were just doing a public records search for him. This was before the background check process was.
They're just going and checking the judicial website and stuff like that. Yeah.
So this individual wasn't forthcoming about it. Didn't mention anything about it. First of all,
does he have to?
He doesn't have to. I don't think. But eventually. During the course of the conversation, the brothers that were investigating thought, well, maybe, we should just kind of bring it up and see what he says. So they did. So they said, we happened to notice that, and I'm not saying that this is the correct way to do it, by the way, but, we happened to notice that you had some information pop up in a background search, and we wanted to see what your opinions were on it if you're, willing to talk about it. And he's like, oh, well, that wasn't me. Oh. And they're like, well, it's the person could have had the same first, middle, and last name, but pretty sure, it's the date of birth matches and everything else.
Social matches.
Well, the social, they didn't, we don't put that on a petition, but like everything, it wasn't like a common name, so it's like,
he wasn't a Smith, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, he's not a Smith. And he's like, yeah,
it wasn't me.
It just wasn't me. And
his name was Shaggy. Say that.
So, needless to say, the individual just wouldn't admit to it whatsoever. And I think they spoke to somebody else who could do a little bit more thorough check. I think there was a police officer in the lodge that volunteered to kind of, see if that was the case. Because look, at face value, you should take what people are saying at face value, right? And until proven otherwise. And he's like, oh, well, maybe it really wasn't him. And they did a little bit of additional digging. And they're like, no, it's definitely him. That was all the police officer had to say to these brothers. So, it's just be open about these kinds of things. We've made mistakes in our past, too. Like, I've never been arrested and,
lies.
No, I've never been arrested. But, these things happen. Like, there are definitely Masons that, petty theft kind of stuff when you were a stupid teenager. And it's like, they're Masons now, and they're great people. And, I'm good friends with a few of them. It's not the end of the world. Just you have to own up to your past. And to not do so, look, there are enough people in this fraternity, especially, you don't even have to be in law enforcement. Enough of us have done investigating committees where you get really good at it. Right, you talk to enough people and you can kind of like suss out whether something is fact or not.
Did you say sus?
Sus.
Yeah, like suspicious. That's what the kids say.
I know.
Oh, that's what kids say.
Suspect. Suspicious.
Yeah, sus used to
that's
be
why
like.
I asked if you just said sus.
It's not the context in which I was using it, but yes. So yeah, be open. Be open. If you made a mistake in life, just let the brothers know.
So
we're not here to judge. But if you lie, then yeah.
If you
that's
flat out
lie, it's a different story. But so, and again, I've expressed my disdain for background checks because, again, when you run a background check, the brothers who do the background check, they're already going in with, something popped up on his background check.
Well,
I mean, if
not the way that it's done, though. The way that, just to correct you on that, the way that it's done is the petitioner gets the background check. They get it themselves and pay for it, and then they decide whether or not to turn it in with their petition. If something pops up, they could say, you know what, I'm good.
And just withdraw.
But what if they just go, fuck that, I don't want to do it?
Then that's up to them.
But that would most likely not disqualify him, but the investigation would be like, all right, never mind, we don't want to proceed. If you don't want to show us, we don't want to proceed.
Well, he can't proceed without showing.
Yeah, you have to show it.
But see, that's what I'm saying.
But you can withdraw your petition.
You can
and say,
withdraw.
no,
And
What if they
you
don't
never
want-
have to turn it in?
But see, what if you don't want to withdraw your petition? You still want to go through it. You just don't feel like giving up your background check. Now, see, here's why.
You can't. It's a
Because,
requirement.
well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
See, this is my disdain for it, because a person's past does not dictate their future by any means necessary. And if you really want to get technical, I mean, back in fucking 1775, I mean, there were a couple of Masons who went and did destruction of government property.
Yeah.
We were talking about it earlier at dinner. I mean, that's destruction of government property if it was by these laws today. And these brothers were part of St. Andrew's Lodge number 2. So, I mean, do those brothers, should they have not been...
But the best way to possibly predict future behavior is based on past behavior. So what it should do is it shouldn't prejudice anybody either way. It should lead to a conversation.
But it does, though.
What the hell happened here? And if you're like, well, the King George was taxing us without representation, so we took all his tea and threw it in the harbor. Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah, we're behind that.
That's good. If it's like something heinous where...
My fear is that these background checks will put a prejudice, or not a prejudice, it'll put a petitioner behind the 8 ball right off the cuff because they simply popped up on a background check. Christ, you run my background check, I may pop up.
I would guarantee you would.
I think
I will.
But it depends on what you pop up for. Like, okay, so let's say it pops up that the person's let's go extreme, a registered sex offender.
That's a different story.
Well, how would you know if you never turned it in?
Okay.
That's
What
why
if
there
they
needs
pop
to
up
be-
for a domestic? And I'll just give you an example. In Connecticut, if the cops come to your house for any reason whatsoever, shape or form, for a domestic dispute, both parties get arrested. Now, what if it was your old lady freaking tagging you in the face? And I'm just using this as an example.
Right.
The old lady's tagging you in the freaking face, but you're still getting taken down to the station. That's an arrest.
Then you have an opportunity to explain it. And if it happens once, okay. Twice?
But you have an
maybe
opportunity to
bad.
explain it. Maybe if-
3 or 4 times, then yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire.
But
It's
this
a
is,
data point,
But this
that's
is my
all.
point, though. Like, so now he got a domestic dispute on his record, or whatever the case may be, and the Masons who are in the investigation committee, he tells a story like, yeah, I don't believe him, because he's got tattoos all over his face or on his arms.
That's their right to do so as the investigation committee. That's the
Yeah.
task
Again,
that they've
but
been...
that's my point, though. Is you're prejudicing somebody who's may or may not even have done the crime. Just because you're arrested for it doesn't mean that you were guilty of it.
Right. And
Background check.
But you could say that. You could
'cause
say I was arrested, but
and I don't think a background check
charges were dropped.
Well, but does a background check show that?
I think it would. It
It
would show
would.
whether or not you're, what's the term, the legal term?
There would be
Like
the
found
whole
guilty
every
of it or whatever.
procedure. It would show the arrest. It would show whether it was adjudicated,
Yeah.
whether it was tried, whether it was gone to probation, whatever anything associated with the decision. If it was thrown out,
Case
it'll
was
say it
thrown out. Yeah.
So let's go to let's take it to another step here, and I'm asking questions
Yeah.
here. Felony drug charge.
Okay.
Felony drug charge way back in the day in your past. Well, as we all know, in the great state of Connecticut, they recently legalized marijuana, but back in the day it wasn't. You have a felony drug charge for trafficking or having marijuana.
Yeah, you could have done time. You
Potentially.
might still be doing time.
You might still be
for a
doing time.
marijuana charge
But
right
that's
now.
my point. So now, basically, yeah, I went to jail for marijuana. Now we all sit there and balk at it like, whatever, who gives a shit? But, I mean, felony drug charge is not going to say marijuana. It's going to say felony drug charge. Now you're disqualified for something that's now, quote, quote, legal.
Yeah, but it wasn't at the
It's a
time, so
talking
you're still
point.
making a poor decision to engage in a knowingly unlawful practice. Whether or not you
Yeah.
agree with the law, if it was illegal then and you knew it, you're making a bad choice. Whether or not you agree with it.
Yeah, you're not cheerfully conforming to the laws of the land if you're dealing drugs during a time where marijuana is illegal.
Society changes, things change.
true.
But
But
at
now-
the time,
But now he's out. He wants to become a Mason to better improve his life. I mean, he made a mistake back in the day, but a felony drug charge of back in the day is going to now affect him 10 years later.
Well, it's a data point, and it's really, like Joe said, it's up to the investigating committee and the brothers of the lodge, right? When they're balloting on this brother, if that information happens to make it to a particular brother, it's up to his own recognizance, which is the way it's always been, like before the background check process.
Let's read a couple of these comments, and then we're going to go to Joe. Adam Brooks, good morning, Dwarf Ginger and Robotron 1000.
Right.
Josh McCrae, this may be a little bit off topic chronologically. Before the investigation committee phase, as a non-Mason, I understand I need 2 signatures from Masons. Do those have to be members of the lodge I petition? No.
They don't, but it's a good idea if your ultimate goal to get in is, you want the brothers to vote on you and accept you, then probably would do you some good to spend some time with them, get to know them, and is it a requirement? No, but it's probably a good idea because then at least you have 2 people in the lodge that could say they got to know you. I
mean, on the flip side, though, you get a petition, you get a voucher or a recommender from a right worshipful brother or most worshipful brother.
Then you're probably in good shape. Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing is this could be, we're just talking in terms of Connecticut, too. So
right.
It
may depend on your jurisdiction.
And that could be, so on the Connecticut petition, you've got the top line and the bottom line signer, who have to be Masons, both of them, right? That's your recommender and your voucher.
Yes.
It's basically your sponsors when you're petitioning the lodge. Now, there's also, during the investigation, you're supposed to get 3, like a maximum of 3 kind of references. You guys remember that?
Yes.
They could be Masons. It says like Masons preferred or something like that, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm not sure which of those 2 things Josh is referring to. But at least in Connecticut, the recommender and a voucher don't have to be members of your lodge, but it's always good to have at least one of them.
And I also think it depends on the stature of the brother who's vouching and recommending for you. The higher or more, what's the word I'm looking for? The more,
well, we're all on the level, but the higher
no, but
rank or
let's be clear. There's going to be a huge difference between a most worshipful or right worshipful brother recommending or vouching as in a Mason who just came in the door freaking 2 months ago.
Yeah.
If the person's not a member of the lodge but is a well-respected member of the fraternity and well-known to that lodge, then you're probably in better shape than, if George, Ken, and I were to sign for you and you're at a lodge in Oklahoma, that may not go so well for
that's
you.
a fair point. What was I going to say? Stop me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe an EA or a fellow craft can vouch or recommend you, right?
I think you have to be a master Mason.
You get to be a master Mason. Okay, that's what I thought.
Really, the only thing the important thing about the recommender and the voucher is when the lodge is balloting on you, which, in our jurisdiction and in most jurisdictions has to be unanimous. The brothers that are balloting are depending on those 2 signers, right? Because they're basically saying this person's a good person, right? So you're looking at those signers to be like, well, do I trust that these people are making a good decision? And the investigating committee, do I trust that these guys know what they're doing? Because you have to take their word. You didn't investigate this particular candidate. So that's really the only information that, a brother in the lodge balloting upon a petitioner has to go on. So, the more distinguished those individuals are, obviously, the
better off your
their
chances
reputation is. And
And the other thing that I would advise any Master Masons out there is if you're, before a meeting and everybody's mulling around, finishing up dinner, putting dishes away, getting ready to run upstairs, so somebody comes up to you with the petition and says, hey, can you just sign this quick as the recommender? If you haven't met that person, you don't know them, don't sign it.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
Don't do that.
No, don't do that.
Because you don't, it's just...
Because now you're just going off the word of another Master Mason, and that Master Mason may be wrong. Because, realistically, let's be real. Most of the time we draw from our friendships outside of this thing. Now, the idea of friendship's a funny thing. And it's much like relationships. You kind of overlook red flags and stuff in friendships. So, you're taking the word of this Mason who thinks he's a good guy when maybe he's questionable.
Right.
And now you're throwing a name in a petition. And I wish that if we're going to make any change to anything, there should be, I don't want to say penalties, but you should be called to the carpet if you recommend or vouch somebody who is a bona fide shitbag. And you follow what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Because we've had
I don't know.
people pass through this lodge who were questionable. Let's be real. They were questionable before, when they got here, they were awesome, and then they went back to being questionable again.
Right.
And the person who recommended and vouched for him, like, I said to him when I was secretary, what the fuck? What the hell, dude? Like,
well, I mean, nobody's perfect, right?
Nobody's perfect,
maybe,
but I mean...
maybe one of your friends, you don't know what that friend's background is. You just happen to be friends with him now. Maybe you don't know that he's a, quote, shitbag before, you know. So, maybe you shouldn't be signing the petition at that point.
This is why we have in the charge of the EA, one particular line says be particularly careful not to recommend them.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you are absolutely sure that they are going to conform and do the right thing. Right? I ballparked that as best as I could without saying...
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joe, you're up.
So
what do you do?
I just ask a lot of questions.
Shame!
No, and it drives people crazy because, so to give some background, I've worked in auto insurance for almost 30 years and investigating how accidents happen and what actually happened and asking people about their injuries and things like that. You learn to ask a lot of questions, and when you see some inconsistencies, you kind of ask that question a few different ways.
Where is your peppers?
A few more times. And what you'll find usually is you ask the same question 3 different ways. You'll get 3 different answers, even though it's the same question. And, God, it drives... I do this in my personal life a lot. And, like, somebody will come in with just this story. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. Can you just explain to me that just a little bit more? So how did you get from here to there? So who was there? And what were you doing just before that? Okay. What time was that? Because that doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't match my timeline.
Yeah, can we just go through that one more time? Just take me from the beginning again. And then the story changes.
My name is Mike Marshall Zanino. Where were you the night of?
Well, that's not what you said this time, because they didn't think I was listening the first time because I said I didn't understand.
Right.
Oh, well, I misspoke. Well, which time? Because neither one are making sense to me right now. What actually makes sense to me is this is what probably happened. Yeah, that's what happened. Okay, thank you. So I don't want to discourage people from doing that because I really enjoy boxing them into their stories and then picking holes in it. Like, I love it. It's enjoyable, but if I'm in the mood for it, if I'm not in the mood for it, then I usually just get really pissed off and say, you know, I won't play the game as much as I'd like to, but you know, it's just don't embellish, let it make sense, and just be honest. That's like I can remember a time where a guy came knocking on the lodge door and wanted to be a member. And like, oh, what do you do for work? So he was an asphalt guy. So like, oh, what company? Well, it's really just my father and me. Oh, okay, so, but like, are you licensed? Is it an actual company or? No, we just kind of do it on the side. Mm-hmm. Where do you get the product from and the process? Like, if you're just doing it on the side, like, do you own your own trucks? No, we kind of just. Turns out they were like one of those gypsy paving companies that show up and take all your money, lay down like an eighth of an inch of product, and then take off on you and you never see it again.
Oh, that's nice.
Because then, like, once he couldn't answer my questions, I did a simple Google search, and like even just Better Business Bureau
Yelp
came up,
and everybody's complaining about it.
And it's like, that's not. And he lived. I want to say he lived in Southington. And wanted to join a lodge in Easton, which are nowhere near each other. Probably a solid hour and 20 minutes apart.
Probably because everybody in Southington knows who he is.
That's exactly what happened, because I ended up calling some of the masters in that area.
Oh, God.
And say, hey, is this guy? Oh, yeah, he came knocking on our door. Oh, okay. And let me guess, you turned him away. Yeah. All right. So it's just like...
Yeah, we communicate. Just FYI, secretaries talk to one another.
Yeah,
and you should. You really should. And that's because that's one of the questions that's asked. Have you petitioned any other lodges within the last 6 months? I believe
within the last year, I think.
Is it within the last year?
Yeah, and we'll check.
Oh yeah, no, we will. We will, and we can, and will, and should check. So if you have, and even if it's like, you know what, I did but I just didn't get a good feeling from that group of brothers. I met with them a couple times, didn't get a good vibe, so I withdrew my petition. That's actually a really good reason.
That's fine, yeah.
Find a lodge that you connect with, but don't. When you start to tell little stories and things don't add up, it makes us start to question your motivations a bit, and we just don't like that.
Now you got to start off being a good person as a Mason, and lying to somebody in order to gain admission into a lodge is kind of a red flag to us.
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so I got kind of an unorthodox way of doing it, but I'll explain it. But while we're on that subject of secretaries talking to each other, I got a quick little story about a person who used to be a pretty good friend of mine, and I'm gonna take a shit on him right here.
Oh boy.
This is all fictional, of course.
Should have said that first.
Maybe speaking in metaphors, metaphorically speaking.
This particular person took 1 degree in our lodge and just disappeared. Just stopped coming, didn't really show up. And I'd question about it. You go, yeah, I'll come on. Took a 2nd degree. Disappeared again. Yeah. And then it turns out later, I find out from a member of another lodge that he tried petitioning or wanted to join over there because he had another friend that was in that lodge. And for any of those who don't know, once you petition a lodge, you're locked in.
Yeah,
you're
lodge
stuck.
has jurisdiction.
You're married to that lodge. It has jurisdiction for the length of it. He waited out this particular length of time while we still had basically our talons inside of him, if you will. Meaning he was owned by our lodge, in a sense. I don't mean to sound like owned, but you know what I mean. Like he couldn't go anywhere. He was part of our lodge. We finally released, he didn't advance, so we moved on. And then he petitioned the other lodge, and I immediately got on the phone with that secretary. I'm like, do not.
It's not the way I would have handled it.
That's the way I handled it. Because
No, that's the way that
From the petitioner standpoint.
Yeah, I would have finished out my degrees with the lodge that I petitioned, and then do it the right way and demit. Yeah,
because the reason being is because this lodge had a certain amount of people that were in a profession that he wanted to join. So the reason why he joined was
mercenary motives.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, I swung the blade, if you will.
Well.
And swung the blade that beheaded that.
But I'm not going to put all that on him though, because he may have had bad motives.
I did it to be an asshole.
No, but maybe it wasn't explained properly to him.
Oh, it was explained because I was the one who was the freaking recommender.
Were you reading off a script?
I was not reading off a script. I was reading off my own script. My own script was don't be a shitbag.
Okay. Well, then I take that away. I retract that statement.
I swung the axe that took his head, and I'll do it again because I'm an asshole. I like the Dr.
If you swung the axe that
Claw
took his head, you wouldn't have to do it again because he no longer has a head.
Yeah. He's got another one.
If you do that voice enough, you're
Thanks,
not going to have
Joe.
a voice anymore, man.
And Joe for the assist.
Josh McCrae. Looking back at all the episodes and all the questions y'all have answered for me, it's kind of surprising I've not asked for a petition yet. All in due time, maybe when life schedule allows. Never going to be a good time, Josh. There's never going to be a perfect time. There's always going to be, life happens, things go on. Masonry is a lifelong journey, so you could do it as fast or slow as you want. Get the petition in and start the journey.
Is he okay over there?
Yeah, I'm good.
He's laughing at my you could do it as fast or as slow as you want.
I think you're right. Get the paperwork in. It's not, you're not being immediately sucked into some vortex just by submitting your petition.
You are like 12 today.
What is going on with him over there?
Me saying you could do it as fast or slow as you want. You saying you said the vortex sucking you in. And he's just like...
He's just losing his mind.
There's an episode of Electric Blue going on in his mind right now.
Right.
All
right, anyway.
This is why I stopped coming.
You only showed up today.
You're usually the one who's doing this shit, giggling like a schoolgirl.
I don't know. That's bullshit.
You're usually the one giggling like a schoolgirl.
Stop it.
Like when we were on our way to breakfast.
Stop it.
Come on.
Stop it. Stop it.
Anyway, so my method of rooting out people who are lying to me, especially during investigation committee, is a little bit similar to Joe, but different. Whereas Joe will ask questions to try to corner them into telling fabrications or
And then blow them out of the water like Sherlock Holmes.
My method is different, and it's more of a passive aggressive type thing. What I usually do is I wait for them to tell. I'll ask them a question. They'll tell me the story, and if I detect something isn't right, I usually hit them with the okay, and then a long dramatic pause. Because long dramatic pauses for people who lie make them uncomfortable.
And they want to fill it in
So
with
now
more
they want to fill it in. That's
more
goddamn
bullshit.
right. And they keep punching holes in their own. Oh, well, no, it kind of didn't really happen. It kind of, it was more of a.
Yeah, once they know you're processing it. Yep. I love that trick, too. I do that one as well.
Fishing, baby. And that's what I do. So I actually just, I just let them talk. And I don't say anything. I just hit them with the long dramatic pause and the, okay. All right, I got it.
Being comfortable with silence is a very good.
Yes. That's the way I do things.
Interviewing.
Because one, it prevents me from sounding like I'm grilling them. And, I mean, it's almost like, what do you call it, Joe? The good cop, bad cop?
Yeah.
The good cop just sits down, puts the water in front of him.
Here, have a drink.
Here, have a
You
drink.
need a cigarette?
Here, you need a cigarette? Yeah, here you go. Just a cigarette for you. Here, just take a look at these pieces of paper. Tell me what you think. Just sit there and just let them dig their own hole. That's the way I do it. Joe's more of the come in the door and
I'm more
grab
of
him by
a-
the throat. And
Hey,
throw
no,
him.
you're gonna dig. Here's
gonna
another.
talk.
Here's another shovel. Here's another shovel. Let me give you a pickaxe too. Keep digging. Keep digging.
I personally prefer that because it's not me. I'm not saying you're being a dick in the way you do it, but when you start, it's more of an uncomfortable thing for when you constantly asking questions and then questioning against their questions and stuff. The way I approach it is I just let you talk. And the more you talk, the more information I get. And the longer I pause and shut up, the more you want to talk. Whereas somebody who's confident in their answers is like, yeah, though this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, and that, the long dramatic, pause is, I love it. Especially in the degree. You know what I'm talking about. Old part.
Yeah.
Withdraw now while there's yet time.
Yeah.
Long dramatic pause. Minus the past master.
I'm
who's
still
always
waiting
like,
for somebody to go, I can't do this.
Yeah.
You guys, I can't do
It'll happen someday.
it. It will.
But you know what I mean? Like that long dramatic pause gives them a moment to think about what they just said. And a lot of times, if you're bullshitting, you're lying, or you made a mistake, let's be real, sometimes you speak, you say, shit, I misspoke. I meant to say that, blah, 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 blah. And they come out with the truth, and they correct what they said. But that long dramatic pause, man, let me tell you, it makes people fucking uncomfortable. Because they're like, shit. Especially if you're lying. They're like, you see right through it.
Yeah.
He knows I'm full of shit. And now you start talking more. Done.
See,
Game
now,
over.
I know somebody.
I know someone who.
Her name will. I'll keep her name out of this just to protect her. She has a different method of asking questions, where she'll ask questions to purposely make you feel like an asshole, but she says it so nice and lovingly that you don't realize it.
Is her name Women?
No, but some are better than others, and I've actually witnessed this, where I've actually sat there and felt bad for the person being questioned because I knew what was coming. That's a new tattoo. Are you happy with it?
Oh, God.
Is that what you wanted? Oh, okay, yeah. So now, was that the apprentice that did that, or was it the regular guy? Oh, and that's what you asked for. Oh, okay. Well, as long as you're happy with it. I'm like, this poor guy. Like I felt bad, and I'm watching this happen. When she's like, "Oh, is that what you asked for?"
That's the.
Oh my God.
That's the
Poor
passive
guy.
aggressive. That's
I like
exactly.
this. But she
That's the
sounds
game,
so
yep.
nice
Yo.
when she's doing it. So now here's the funny
Was the
thing.
artist drunk at the time?
Now, see, I want to be clear about my methodology. There is a way to poke holes through what I do. Because that long dramatic pause or what she was doing and all that stuff, it could also be, you get somebody about, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. And then walk the fuck off like you're a boss. And now it's like, well, shit, that backfired.
But it was one of those things that was undeniably wrong. Like, it was, one part of the tattoo was supposed to be a forget-me-not. And she knows, because of the relationship with me, she knows what a forget-me-not looks like.
Yeah.
And the artist said those were forget-me-nots? Like, did he use a reference or anything? Like, did he Google it and, like, pull up a reference? Or so here's the funny thing. The guy defended it at the time, like you said, like, to try to poke holes in it.
Yeah.
But then, like, 4 months later, went and had it redone. So,
oh, that's fucking
and
hilarious.
that evil laugh was very similar to the one that she had when that happened. But no, she is
ruthless.
And because what I just hear that first question, I'm like, poor bastard has no chance. This is not going to end well.
Yeah, there's some people that are just, they're just good at it. They'll just look at your face like, yeah, no, that's what happened.
Well, if you're happy with it, that's all that matters.
And then just continue on. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's so most people aren't like that. Let's be real. Your average normal person who is psychologically sane doesn't really. It'll affect them. But I mean, every once in a while you get that 1%, man. They'll just hold to. Like they won't change their story. They'll stay exactly on top of it. You know what I mean? And
well, in my profession, those people usually become
serial
super
killers.
angry and super resistant very quickly.
Correct.
And once you hear
sometimes.
So are you calling me a liar? Are you calling me a liar? No, I'm just asking you questions about your story. I can't believe you would call me a liar. I am deeply offended, and unless you pay this claim today, I'm canceling my policy. Well, it's not going to be today, so if you need to cancel,
it's not going to be today.
That's fine. But when give me your super, and they figure if they are loud enough and keep shouting, and once you hear that, how dare you accuse me of that? You know you got them.
Yeah.
I'm not making any accusations. I'm just asking you questions.
We got you now, Karen.
How dare you?
The anger thing, actually, we were talking about this at breakfast, too. The anger thing makes me laugh sometimes because, I mean, I've dealt with people. We were talking about it at breakfast. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but the particular people were angry and, we're gonna mess you up. We're gonna screw you up. But wait till this thing stops. Wait till this thing stops. And then you get to the back and like,
okay,
what happened? Is everybody okay? Was anybody injured? And they back down when they're in your face. So I think it's a little bit more difficult to when you're being questioned on an investigation committee, it's a little bit more difficult to play that whole anger game.
Yes, because then that's just a red flag in and of itself.
And I mean, let's be real. Sometimes people are telling the freaking truth, and yeah, it's angry when you're getting you get pissed off when you're telling the truth, and they're just not taking what you're saying for face value.
Right.
So it's a tough road to navigate, but I mean, realistically, I mean it's the different methodologies we all have, and like I said, I've had some people on investigation committee that were space cadets.
Well,
out there.
Yeah.
Not that they were lying, but they
may not be best equipped to handle that task. Which happens, hey?
Especially that I'm going to tell you how to do.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
God. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. No. Actually, we did a whole Brothers of Genius. We did a Brothers of Genius a while back about that. Do you remember?
The recent Mason.
Yeah,
or the
recent Mason. I'm going to show you how to
petitioner that knows more about esotericism than you do as a Mason.
Oh, yeah, because I don't think I was here for that, but I did see some similar conversations in Discord about that, which you can get access to for as little as $5 a month by joining our Patreon.
No, a long time ago we did it. It was basically making fun of those who came in the door, and they were going to tell us how it's run. We also did one, too, for those who cite the rules and regs every 2 minutes. But
hey, those rules and regs are important, okay?
They are important, which while we're on the topics of petitions and making sure you're doing your due diligence as an investigation committee, in Connecticut, it is in our rules and regs that even if the petitioner has petitioned, has passed the investigative committee, and has passed the vote, you can still withdraw his application or deny it until the EA degree is conferred.
That's only the master, though.
can do that.
The master can do that, yes.
Yep.
PSK
So
auto.
if additional information comes to light, even though the vote is taking place, as long as that EA degree hasn't started, the master can say, we've got some new information. It's
We're
not
gonna
going
pull it.
forward. Yep.
PSK Auto. It is a journey. Haven't been to Lodge in 3 months, and it feels like an eternity. But it's only a drop in the bucket of a lifetime with the Lodge. I'll be back, and I know they will welcome me openly. Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Sure they will. Yep.
Yep. Sometimes life gets in the way.
That's the beauty of it. Or if, depending on whether you're a master mason or not, and you have the ability to travel, you might find yourself in another city or state that you're not familiar with, and that's always a good resource to go to and rely on your brothers. And, instantly you've got some friends and family all over the world.
Yep.
What do you think, brothers? Think we put a? I know we're running a little early, but you think we put a?
I think we got a good
I
one.
think we got a good one. So, what do you say we wrap it up?
Wrap it up. I'll take it.
We got some other stuff to do, potentially.
I've got laundry and grocery shopping and all kinds
Oh,
of
I meant
stuff.
recording commercials.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe we were also talking about Papa George's words of wisdom.
Oh, God.
Anyway, let's wrap this up for the Freemason Podcast. I'm Right Worship Brother George Mudry signing off.
Worshipful Brother Joe signing off.
And Worshipful Brother Ken signing off.
Have a good night, everyone. Don't lie.
Fans.
Stop lying. I'm on to you.